Hey, how's it going? If you're new here, my name is Jan and I love makeup. And if you're not new, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate you. Today's video is an idea I got from Linda from Glitter Fallout. I'll link her video below so you can go take a reconnoiter. Anytime I'm copycatting, I want to give credit where credit is due. I know she said she got it from somebody else, but I honestly have no idea who. I've had this in my notes app on my phone for quite a while, probably like a week or so, which I guess isn't that long really in the big scheme of things. Okay, so maybe not that long. It feels like a long time. Anyway, it seemed like a really fun video to do where you can just like talk about makeup without having to buy anything new or put anything on or do other things. And I just got done filming this eye look, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the video yet, I don't know when this is going up. I love this with my whole heart. Okay, so anyway, this is the tag from like palette tag video. Again, I got this from Glitter Fallout, and there are 14. There are 14 questions. I love when numbers are wrong. Like most do 15 or 10 or nope, 14. The first one is a palette you wore on a special occasion. My memory is terrible. If you're new here, it's real bad, like real bad. But I remember this one because it was a twofer. So the palette I used on a special occasion is the Nomad Home for the Holidays palette. This was the very first palette I ever bought from Nomad, and I fell head over heels in love. I bought this palette because Anielka Nyquist made a face. She couldn't talk about it yet, but she had it, and she made a face that indicated it was worth it. So as soon as it launched, I picked it up. This was a limited edition and it hasn't been available for a couple of years now. But I got this and I wore it to Thanksgiving at my oldest son's house, which, why am I wearing a Christmas palette to Thanksgiving, you ask? Because in my world, Christmas starts on Thanksgiving Day. All of my decorations go up and the Christmas music comes out, and I love Christmas. So special occasion, Thanksgiving. I wish I could tell you what I wore the day of my ceremony for, me and Mike, but I don't remember. It was a long time ago and that has completely escaped my memory. Number 2, a palette you love but is repetitive. And for that, I chose the Violet Voss Pro Eyeshadow Palette. This is the HG one. This palette is fantastic and almost always gives me a sad. I have 2 that are this size. It's repetitive. I think you could have made this a 10-pan palette very easily. But the quality in this palette is stunning. I know a year-ish ago, it was still available to purchase. And I would say if it strikes your fancy, I would get it because it is really good. And this is not a new palette. So for it to be as good as it is and not be new, it's a very good palette. But it is a bit repetitive. So it made this list. Number 3 is a palette you got your money's worth. This was the easiest one for me to pick, and it's the Tarte Maneater. This was my go-to palette for everyday looks, for mixing and matching. I loved this palette. I loved it so much, I bought a backup. And then realized I was insane and did not need a backup of this palette because I have so much eyeshadow that I gave the backup to my niece who loves makeup almost as much as I do. And I'm looking at it and I could have gotten the look I'm wearing today out of this palette. This is a great palette. I have used it and used it and used it and used it. So definitely got my money's worth. Number 4, a palette that's an amazing deal. And I chose Cosmic Brushes. I just picked up the Muse palette because it was the easiest, but any of the Cosmic Brushes palettes are an amazing deal. They are like $20-something. I mean, you pay shipping, but you should pay shipping. I never mind paying shipping. This is a fantastic palette. All of their palettes are so good. I love, love, love all 4 of them. And as far as I know, that's all they've released. So any one of them is well worth the price. 20 different colors for 20 something dollars. I mean, do the math. That's crazy affordable, especially for the quality. The quality is right up there, in my opinion. Now, number 5, a quad you love but wish was larger. For this one, I actually picked a Makeup Geek quad. Even though I made this quad, I think a color story like this would be spectacular. Maybe with some like yellowy gold mattes, and I just love these shades together. I think they're so pretty. Of course, Makeup Geek is no more, but I think this palette qualifies as a quad I would like to have in a larger selection. Number 6, a palette you love the quality but hate the packaging. I had a couple of options there, but I ended up going with the Club Nebula palette from Kaleidos and Angelica Nyquist. This palette is humongous. It's really, really hard to open. But, once you get it there, boy howdy, it is worth it. I love this palette. Oh, it's so good. I'm gonna have to use all of these now somehow. So yeah, don't like the packaging. I mean, look at that. It's the size of a book. But I do love the palette. Number 7 is show your dream palette with singles. I can't do that. I don't know that I could imagine my dream palette. I've tried. I have narrowed it down to I would need 18 shades. So there's that. I know I would want a blackened brown, a white, and a matte like fire truck red, and a shimmer fire truck red. But after that, I would need a lot more thought. So that's 4 shades. I would need 14 more. I don't have that many singles, and I certainly don't have enough to make a comprehensive dream palette, but those 4 shades are a must for me. Number 8, palettes you like to combine. So this one is super, super, super new, happens to be on my face, and it is the Blend Bunny Forget Me Not palette. I cannot get over how much I'm loving this. I knew I was going to, otherwise I wouldn't have picked it up. But look at that. I mean, it's just glorious, and because of the tones, you can pair it with literally anything and it's gonna look good. I'm wearing just the palette on my eyes and my face today, but it's so good. I've used it with some Nomad. I've used it with some Divina. You can just mix and match like crazy with that palette and get such great looks. Number 9 is a large palette you wish was smaller. And that is the Miss Claus Lit List palette from BH Cosmetics. When I tell you this palette is amazing, I am not kidding you. I am so glad that I decided to get this palette. I didn't get the first one the first year, but I got this one. It's humongous. It's way too big, but I love it so much. The quality, the color story. I have used and loved every shade in this palette except for this red glitter. I wouldn't put that anywhere on my face. This is a fantastic palette. If they would just make it a little bit smaller and a little more manageable, it would be an everyday palette. I mean, take the Christmas off of it and it's an everyday palette. It's so, so good. Number 10 is an eyeshadow palette you wish you had a matching face palette. I don't understand the question. I vaguely remember Linda saying something, but I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand the question. So we're gonna pretend that one's not there. Number 11, an OG YouTube palette that you still have. I didn't get into YouTube until like way later, like way later. Shan XO was one of the first makeup channels that I followed, and I bought her collab with BH Cosmetics. This is the second release. The first one had this color story on one side and lipsticks on the other. This palette has two eyeshadow palettes, one on one side and one on the other. So I think she's an OG YouTuber, and this is her palette, and I've had it for a long time. So I'm gonna go with it qualifies for an OG YouTube palette. Next up is a palette that has survived declutters. All of them. All of the palettes I have has survived declutters. I don't know how else to answer that. I have so many that I wouldn't get rid of. So I don't know. I don't really understand that question. So we'll go on to number 13, a palette you regret buying. Now, I don't really do regrets, but if there's a palette that I bought that I don't reach for, I don't want to reach for, I'm not mad I have it, I don't regret buying it, but it would be the one I just used. It's the Pat McGrath and Bridgerton palette, the eyeshadow palette, the original launch. You're gonna get basically 2-ish looks out of this, and the formula of the shadows is fantastic. Zero complaints there. But it's just not, it's not a fun palette to have. It's not a go-to palette. It's one that you would reach for something kind of specific, but not all that fun, if that makes sense. So I don't technically regret it, but if there was one palette that I could go back and not buy, I think it would be that one. And last but not least, a palette that deserves more love. Now I assume this meant from, oh my gosh, I have eyeshadow on my finger and I've touched my face. Why didn't you tell me? Oh, wow. I should try looking in a mirror once in a while. Okay, I have to try to fix that. Okay, that's not perfect, but it should get us through the rest of the video. I cannot believe I did that. Listen, makeup's messy. A palette that deserves more love. I took this to mean like from the general public, the makeup loving world, and not just me, because I try to love all of my palettes. Some get more than others, but I have the Throwback Thursday series, so I can use everybody, and everybody gets a little bit of love from me. But when I think that the community in general doesn't talk about enough and doesn't use enough is the BH Cosmetics Lost in Los Angeles palette. I've tried several different kind of pastel-y formulas, pastel-y eyeshadows. This is fantastic. There's literally nothing to complain about this palette. It's so, so, so good. Love it. You could pair this with a deeper palette that maybe doesn't have enough lighter shades. This is a great palette. I love it so much. And that is the end of the questions. Let me know what you think. If you want to do this video, or if you want to do this video, tag me in it, or if you just want to answer some of the questions in the comment section, do that as well. If you saw a palette here I haven't used in a while and you'd like to see me use it, please let me know. I was just talking to Tara when I'm filming this morning about how I choose my Throwback Thursday video palettes, and there's no rhyme or reason, to be honest with you. I just kind of pick one that I haven't used in a while, but I have a lot of palettes, so if there's one you want to see, let me know. I could definitely work my way through a list of palettes that you'd like to see in the Throwback Thursday. I did that late last year or earlier this year, I kept a list of palettes that people had mentioned wanting me to use. So I'm looking forward to hearing all of your thoughts on my answers and to see what you think about these palettes. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Either way, I appreciate hanging out with me today. Be good and remember to be kind to you.